enjoy writing the book? And your answer was?
No. Because I was used to look forward and not backwards. And I at my age at thinking, I turned down many times the opportunity to write a book. And I thought I had a bit time in front of me when I stopped to manage, and I thought it's now or never. And why never? And because as well, especially family circumstances, I thought I'll do it. At least people come after me. We know a little bit what the ancestors have done before them.
So you're not a fan of looking back. You've never looked back?
No, I look back to analyze what I did right or wrong, but I don't look back at a longer distance. You know, when I make a mistake, I try always to analyze why did I make a mistake. But at my global life, I don't like to look back. It is what it is. You cannot change it anymore.
But do you allow yourself to look back to enjoy events that have happened in the past? Because at the moment, you're saying you only look back to be celebrated.
I think I carried through my life the dissatisfaction of everything I did. You never did enough. You're never happy enough. You always want more. And basically, life is about, for me, it was experiencing intense moments and waiting for other intense moments. And in between, you work hard to get other intense moments. But I never looked back globally because I knew instinctively that you need to find the meaning in life. My meaning was football. I was absolutely sure of that. And life had a meaning if I am in football, you know. And so I knew I was happy to lead the life I had. And I thought I look later back, you know, and at some stage it catches you because age catches up and you have to do it.
The self-reflection and looking back on moments to be critical seems to be what drives a lot of people who perform to a high level in sport. AP McCoy, the jockey, who's a big Arsenal fan, has said to me several times, well, I may have got 4,000 winners, but I rode 18,000 horses, so I've got 14, so I've lost 14,000 times.
But what strikes me the most is I was in my life in touch with top level performers. And since I stopped as well, I met many other athletes from other sports, you know. And I tell them, tell me a little bit about to find out where your motivation comes from. And honestly, all of them tell you only what they had lost and could have won. They never, you take winning as, okay, it's normal, you know, but you wonder, why did you lose? And I think it's a basic difference between men and women maybe is how men hate to lose. Women love more to win. And men hate defeat. They can become very aggressive. They feel humiliated.
So is that a pride thing, do you think?
Sorry?
A pride. That's
It is a pride thing. It's maybe because we rely on our physical strength, especially in sport, you know, and being defeated is something that we don't like.
Has that come from your childhood? Has that come from when you were a player, or do you think you are born with that?
That's a mystery. I think that's all. We have the same question about talent. Is it a genetical accident? Or is it, did you develop your qualities through very early childhood? I don't know. The only thing I can remember is the intensity of my desire, the intensity of my motivation. It certainly came from my bistro where I was educated, where the local football club had the headquarters, and I heard only about football. So I must have thought that's the only thing that matters, basically. People talk about that. And a bistro is as well a good education for a young boy to observe people, to detect why does he say that, you know. So it was a good education psychologically.
It gave you a real understanding of people from an early age.
I tried to understand when you're a boy 5, 6, 7 years old, you sit there and you listen to all the people the whole day. you try to understand why they say that, why does he say that, and they speak about each other as well. But maybe it's a good psychological education.
Let's talk football then. Well, we might come back to childhood and France and Japan as well, where you coached. And we're doing this event in the week of your first Arsenal game 24 years ago. What struck me when reading the book was actually, if you go back to the 1st of October, which is when you arrived at Arsenal, your quote is remarkable, really. You said, "I've been preparing for years to live in London, to live only for this club, to give myself to it completely." And you felt that first time.
I felt that because I was 47 years old. I had 10 years at the top level in France. I had 2 years in Japan. I knew I could live anywhere. You know, in my job, you have to take your luggage and go anywhere in the world. So it's a job for single people. And I thought I had enough maturity, enough experience, and enough belief in myself as well, because I was manager over here in France, Japan, and I knew a little bit something about the game. And but it was now or never for me, because I had always admired the passion of the game in England, because I feel, for me, England is a country of the heart, you know, passion for music, passion for sport, passion for big emotions. And I thought when I arrived the first time in England, I could understand why football has been created here. And so I wanted to stay in Japan unless I had an opportunity to come here to England.
Were you quite emotional as well, because you had worked for that moment? And I'm not just talking about football work, but you'd taken yourself off to Cambridge, hadn't you, and gone on an English course. So that moment that you arrived at Arsenal, was that fulfillment? Was that satisfaction?
You know, you do things in your childhood or when you're a very young boy. You don't know really why, but you do them, and sometimes they help you later. I just, when I was a very young boy, I wanted to understand the world around me. And I felt at the time I was playing football, my friends went to the beach, and I thought I don't want to spend a life without speaking English. And I came to Cambridge at 29 years of age, but I never felt at the time that it would help me to manage a football team, because I was still a player at the time.
But we ought to say, when you went to Cambridge, that isn't going to university. You went around knocking on doors trying to find...
Knocking doors to find... now my daughter is at Cambridge University, you know, and I never could find the lady again where she gave me a room to live in. And I just asked, look, I am French, can you help me to... So I have a room for you. And then the next day I make the test, and I was very average in English, you know, and they put me in a class, and I saw that the lady where I lived was the teacher of the class. So I learned the English very well. I worked very hard, and when I came back later it decided of my life.
You did search her out, but you haven't been able to find?
No, I didn't. No.
When you arrived at Arsenal, and I'm lucky enough to have worked with several of your players who were in that dressing room when you got there. When you walked into that dressing room for the first time, what did you make of them? Because I know from working with, say, Ian Wright and Martin Keown, you're walking into a dressing room with very different personalities.
Well, there were, I must say, the common thing were only strong personalities, you know. From David Seaman to Dixon, Winterburn, Adams, Bowen, Keown, and Platt, and you had only strong personalities, Merson, and you had only strong personalities in there, and they were all around 30. So that's a very sensitive for a manager, because, you know, at some stage, you have to tell them, my friend, it's over, and that is always very difficult for a manager, because to survive when you have so many older players is difficult. And I raised a lot of skepticism, because people thought, well, a French guy coming to English football, was no history of foreign managers who have been successful. What is going on there? And I thought I was ready to compromise, to adapt to local culture. That's why I took Pat Rice as an assistant, because he knew well the Arsenal way of life. And as well, I was ready to fight for my ideas. So you have always to find a compromise between where you can give in and what you have to impose. And overall, generally, if you can convince a player that if he follows what you want of him, he will be a better player, he does it. But you can only do that if you win some games. So at the start, you have to win football games. And that's what happened. And overall, these players must say, were better technically when I thought they were. They were intelligent, and it was the old way of educating people in football. They were ready for a fight. These guys, you could go anywhere with them. They were ready to go for it. And 96 is maybe the last period where the players from Liverpool did not move from Liverpool. The players from Manchester were Manchester for life. The players for Arsenal were Arsenal players for life. Today, the mobility is much bigger. So the identification maybe with the club is a bit smaller, But when you were under threat, they were ready to fight for the club.
Did you know immediately then that they were ready to embrace a different way of working, or did you take your time, assess everything, and give it? I don't know. I'll pick 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or do you go?
No, I think contrary to what people think, you have only 3 months.
Right, dear.
You have only 3 months
to win them over.
To win them over. If after the first 3 months you have not won them over, bye bye. You go somewhere else. So the first, to get what you want from people is very short time. And after that, I started with a lot of skepticism, because I came with my glasses, looked like a little teacher, and people thought, who is this guy? What does he want to tell us? We are experienced English football players played in national teams. And so I was ready to face that. And as well, still changed my mode of what they did before. I changed what they did before with my own ideas, and we were lucky because I was lucky because he inherited a good team with good players who were as well fighters and had quality.
But were they also sceptical? Because what I didn't realise, and I found out in the book, was in a game at the end of September against Borussia Mönchengladbach, when you hadn't actually taken over, had you?
No, I was there as an observer. I came from Japan. Yes.
Yeah. But you made a substitute. You went down to the dressing room at half time.
I took Tony Adams out of the game at half time.
Yeah.
And we lost the game.
Right.
So they must have thought this guy is completely mad. And I thought as well, that's quite exciting. I went back to Japan, and I thought, certainly that was not the best decision. And that makes my job a bit harder. But at some stage, that's what football is about. You have to make decisions.
Did you leave it at that stage until you came back, or did you try?
Yes, I did leave it until I came back, and that was in September. And after I came back on the 1st of October, and I think we started the first game on the 12th of October.
I mean, you say you were ready for it. You were ready for the skepticism. You were ready for the criticism. You were ready to sort of be criticised and put under the microscope. It still must have shocked you, some of the reaction, didn't it?
It does, but at some stage when you're under huge pressure, you have always to come back and think, what am I doing here? What is important for me? Why am I doing this, And so I was ready to fight to get my chance. And I thought the judgment is the judgment of other people. And I can influence that judgment if I win football games and if my team plays in a style that people like. So I was not too concerned about the skepticism and the criticism because I could understand that. And at the end of the day, if you start to win football games, the fans are happy.
So how important was that first win on the 12th of October against Blackburn?
It was important because I changed the preparation a lot, I changed the diet a lot, I changed the way of...
what were they singing on the coach, the players?
They were singing, we want our Mars bars. I said to Gary Lewin during a trip to the pitch, what are they chanting? He said, they sing we want our Mars bars back. And at half time, I think we were 1-0 up. I came in the dressing room, and usually I let players rest before I talk, but nobody said a word. And I said to Gary, what's wrong there? We are winning. Why has nobody said a word? He said to me, they're hungry.
So you didn't give them anything?
No. No, after we got used to it, but it's all changed the habits of preparation. And after that, when you can convince somebody that he will be a better player, he's doing it. But we are, especially the modern manager, I think the modern manager is in a persuasive mode. You deal with millionaires, they want to be treated like that. You have to convince people. You have to communicate today. You have to individualize the communication and the training even more. But I think even go a step further. But at the end of the day, if a player thinks he can be better, he will do it.
Sean Dyche told me not that long ago, the Burnley manager, that it feels now, in the modern day, not back then, but in the modern day, that you are dealing with 25 chief executives of their own personal companies now, with each individual player. Does that resonate with you?
It is true, yes. Players is a little company now, but the manager as well. The manager now comes in with a company that makes a contract with a football club, and this company is his assistants that are in numbers, and when he's finished, they go with him, and this company has a contract somewhere else. So, but as long as people meet their needs and they cooperate for the target of the club, that means to win, it's all right, but it's an evolution. Before, the players could imagine, once they were at Arsenal, to move somewhere else. But today, that has changed. But as long as they commit completely, that is what is to be real professional. It is, once I sign my contract, I commit, and I give my best. And life is about give and take, So you have to be careful to balance that always. It's not only to take, it's give and take. Sometimes we forget as well that life is about giving.
But do you think that give and take seems harder in football of the last 5 years than it did when you started out with Arsenal in 1996? Or does it, when you get to, I'm 47 now, so I'm the age that you were when you took Arsenal. Do you start looking, and I am looking back, is it just through rose-tinted glasses that it was so much simpler and easier in the 90s than it is now?
It was maybe simpler, but as well, a manager needs expertise and to go with the evolution. If you don't go with the evolution, you're kicked out. So a manager today needs to have expertise, to be a strategist, and to be a communicator as well. He needs less to be a specialist to work on the pitch. When I started at the age of 33, it was me and the team on the football pitch. Today, the manager can come on with a jacket because he has his assistants who can make the session. But after that, he needs to analyze well with the number of information he gets today. Is flooded with information. The modern manager is flooded with information. The idea is to select the 3 or 4 data that can help him to make the right decision. When I started, it was a fight to get information. Today, you're flooded with information. So it's more of a selective attitude and wisdom to select the right data that are important.
And does that wisdom come with experience?
As well, of course, because and as well by knowing human beings. I think the science helps you to understand better the world you live in. Your knowledge, how to select what kind of information you get, and your intuition and your experience gets you above that and allows you to make the right decision.
Even in that last couple of years at Arsenal, were you still? And I'll go back to. I want to really focus a little bit on the glory years and the Invincibles. But just towards the end, were you still very much out on the training ground and coaching every day?
Every day. You know, it was my life, and
you wouldn't delegate.
I delegated as well because I had Steve Boyd who did the defensive job. You know, I had some Boro and some other people who worked with me, Tony Colbert, who did offensive jobs. But I created the session and after delegated as well, of course. But I was hands-on, you know, and I managed 1,235 games for Arsenal, and I was lucky not to miss one in 22 years. So that means the first is like for the players, first quality is to be lucky to be healthy and be capable to go out every day.
Let's go back to after you'd taken over. You say in the book as well that 14th of March 1998 at Old Trafford, Mark Overmars' goal, that you felt was the turning point for you and this team. Can you explain why?
It was a turning point because we had one game in hand. We're 8 points behind Man United. But that victory instilled belief in a team where we can win it. And once you have done that, you have put that into a team, they don't give up anymore. They go for it. Once a team is convinced deeply that this is their chance, you can rely on them, they will go for it. And that day was decisive on the belief side.
So pre-match, were you thinking this could be decisive for this team? Or is it only with hindsight that you realise how decisive that was?
No, when you get into March, you make mathematics.
Yeah.
You know, if from 8 points behind, you go to 11 points behind, bye-bye. Manchester United will never give you 11 points from March to May. So you know that's a decider. And a draw left us a small chance. A win gave us a very good chance. And it was that was of course vital on the day.
Can you remember what you said in the dressing room after that game?
No, not really. I certainly must have said, fantastic, let's go for it, really, something like that.
But what I'm trying to get is these are all experienced players still, aren't they? There are still a very experienced side who have had very good careers. It's interesting that the belief came for some in that so late on.
Because you can have confidence in you and believe that you're a very good player, but not necessarily believe that the team is good enough to win the Premiership. And but you need team moments where everybody feels, oh, not only I am a good player, but around me we are good enough to win. You know, and that is in key moments of the season that you get that.
Does the same thinking work for you as work for the players? Did it give you belief all of a sudden?
As well, but I had quite a good potential to believe that my team was good.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But you'd gone to Old Trafford and won.
We got to Old Trafford and won, and we won the championship and won the double that year. And that is certainly was a key moment for me as well in my career in England, because my first full season in charge, I won the double. When I was a little kid, we could only watch one game on television in black and white, and it was the Wembley final. So imagine when I could not even dream that one day I would be a manager, but imagine when I walked out the first day or the final day to play the FA Cup final at Wembley. And so it was exceptional. And that's what I wanted to say in my book, you know. Life can be bigger than your dream. And I speak to the children today with different, it's very different. If you're young today, it's very difficult to see where will your life be. So just want to say, be positive, have a passion and a dream. Maybe it will come alive at some stage.
You're a firm believer, if you have a dream, you can achieve your dream.
I would say, I made many people intervene with psychologists at the club to talk to them. Teams, guys, every 2 months, I invited somebody to talk to the players to what life is special. Somebody who did something special. Because a guy who went through the Pole North, a guy who was dancer with Madonna, and they talked about their experience. A guy who was a world champion skateboard, and after I tried to analyze, and where you come back to the dream, is these guys sometimes they stopped to do what they did to run after their dream, and the 4 common things that came out there was, what is your dream? Go ready for it. 2, how can you make it happen? 3, get rid of all the negative thoughts that come automatically with it, because somewhere would say, I do it next year, or maybe I'm not good enough at the moment to do it. And 4, commit completely. And all the people who did special things I met in my life, they had these 4 ingredients.
So when, say, the skateboarder came to talk to the players, did you sit in and listen as well? Because one of the good, right? Because sometimes when reading the book, it's football, isn't it? Yeah. And you talk about looking out of your flat in Japan, and you looked onto a wall.
Yes.
But that was a beautiful view if you'd won a game.
Yes.
And you had this amazing vista in Monaco. But that was a horrible view.
Over the sea,
of the sea. If you'd lost a game, that was a horrible view.
It was horrible.
Take the wall.
I didn't even see the bit.
Take the wall if you win. And I thought, well, did you always go home after a football match? Did you go out and experience things and try and take things from a concert or a film or meeting really interesting people?
Honestly, no, and I'm a bit ashamed to say that, but I must say I led a monastic life, and completely dedicated to what I did. And now I'm a bit scared to say that, because people look at me and think this guy is completely mad, but it was my passion. And I have interest in life, but how my passion was to understand the world and how to get human beings better and understand them well. So I think as well, that human beings in general arrive quite early in life at a very good level, but they don't move a lot after, because we like to do what is easy and not what makes us better always, And that is quite an interesting conclusion, because I have a long experience for having worked with people to try for them to be at their best, and very few in life do absolutely everything to get to where as good as they can be, And I believe that it happens more in individual sport than in team sports.
Right.
But they do absolutely everything. In individual sports, you have to. In team sports, is a bit can make you a little bit comfortable.
Do you think, if I follow on that logic, did you get too comfortable at Arsenal?
I don't know. I would be inclined to say no, but I'm not maybe too good a lawyer for myself, and I don't have that feeling. But maybe you have not to rule it out. You have first it starts with yourself. And in life, and especially in competition, where it's a fight to get to your best level, and so I cannot rule it out.
Because there are 2 ways of looking. I'm not your lawyer either, but there are 2 ways of looking at it, I suppose, which is, that once the move to the Emirates happens, you're very much having to balance the books for Arsenal, which I'm guessing is a new skill in some ways, and therefore that is a challenge for you. But at the same time, your whole ethos is winning football matches.
Yes.
And also you've had adventures in different countries. Would you have been more satisfied? Would you have balanced that side of your character in Milan or Madrid or Barcelona?
Well, I went in a different stage of my career because I thought I could win with Arsenal, and you finished my first period. Finished at 2006,
yeah,
where we missed to win the Champions League final. I think we were really unlucky because we played with 10 men in the final, but it's absolutely, and we're still close to win it, But that was would have crowned this period 96-2006. 2007 we moved into the new stadium, and it's true that my obsession, I pushed as well the club to build a new stadium, and my obsession was we needed to be as many times as possible in the Champions League. We needed to restrict our finances, and we needed to sell our best players to pay the stadium back as well. So I was maybe happy when we achieved that. But on the other hand, if you look in Europe, there's not many clubs who stayed 19 years on the trot in the Champions League and get out of the group stage. I think we're only 2 or 3 who had that consistency. So we were remarkably consistent. But as well, I agree with you, we didn't win the championship, but we could have done 2 or 3 times. And so I have to look at myself as well, yes.
But you also describe some of those years after the Invincibles as wonderful.
It is wonderful because you do your job and you're not scared to lose anymore. Just go to a game. Sometimes I thought, why am I paid so much money to do this job? It is so simple. It is so easy. You just come, enjoy. The players owned the way we wanted to play. They had a kind of charisma. They refused to be mediocre. They did not accept to lose football games, and they owned that desire for perfection, and they stimulated each other. Once you get to that stage, the manager's job becomes very easy. And I must say, I got praised the most where I suffered the least, you know, and I got criticized the most where I worked the hardest in my career at Arsenal. That's the fact that when you have the right players, you can win football, and when you have less good a team, you do with less. And our job basically is to take the maximum out of the potential of the team.
And also, I'm guessing that those years were wonderful at times
where I'm the most proud of is I did not run away when it was difficult. And I wanted to guide the club through a sensitive period, and I went to the end of it. And thinking, when I will leave the club in a good financial position, with a stadium that is basically not a burden anymore for the club, and in good conditions, you know. And today the club can take off again.
But that's a huge personal cost to yourself.
Yes, but it's interesting as well. You know, it's not. Honestly, I'm quite proud of that because it's not only about glamour and winning titles. It's important, of course, it's vital, but as well other things in life that are really important is what you leave behind you.
Football fans see everything tribally, right? So there's no grey area. Everything is very much
black or white.
Black or white. When you work in football, as I've come to learn from talking to lots of people, there is understandably the human side, and the tribal side isn't there as much. So for those players that you developed and put a lot of time into, who then got success elsewhere, and I don't want Arsenal fans to go berserk at you or me for this, but is there a human pride that Sami Nasri does well somewhere else, or Van Persie does well somewhere else, or Fabregas does well somewhere else? Because you have been a friend and a father figure to them as well.
Yes, but basically, if you can help people to develop their talent and be good, you want them to play for you. But at the end of the day, what is the most important is when you have talent, is to be capable to develop it and to feel that you can express it. If it's for you, it's better. If it's somewhere else, it's good as well.
Let me go back to 1998 then, back to what we were talking about, winning at Old Trafford. How much for you was that period, Arsenal against Manchester United, the late 90s? How much was there an element of you against Alex Ferguson?
Well, there was a personal competition between him and me. There was a individual competition in each position between an Arsenal player and the Man United player, but that's coming back to that it was war, you know. And in England, I noticed that coming from France, when the pressure is on, the English guy turns to war. Let's fight, you know. Yeah. So you had this individual preparation for, my guys, it's you or me, you know, and but it became always the intensity, and sometimes he got out a bit of control, and sometimes a lot out of control. But at the end of the day, once a competition is gone, like in many competitions, you have respect for each other.
Did your intensity go up because their intensity went up?
No, I'm a bad loser, and so sometimes I have only to look at myself. I got out of control as well. Sometimes I have been provoked, but the week before the games, you know that the pressure is on, and every press conference is scrutinized and analyzed, and everything is analyzed. But it's part of the enjoyment of a competition as well.
So in that intense battle, because the late 90s and early 2000s, it really was United Arsenal every year. Were you, after you'd done your press conference, would you scrutinise what they were saying, and were you doing stuff in your press conference to try and wind them up?
Yes, of course. You want to influence what your opponent, and you do not want to respond to the provocations from your opponent. And the press knows how to tease that, you know, and so it was part of the preparation as well.
The irony, actually, of doing this is I read Ferguson's leading book before I read your book. I just happened to be reading that, and then I was doing this interview, and so I read yours. I think the two of you are quite similar. Would you agree?
Yes, I wouldn't disagree. And I think as well we are the witness of our period, you know, of a society, and we are really bit the products of the evolution of the game. That means we were powerful inside our clubs. We had at the time we were made at the time where the influence was only one direction on the player. The evolution has gone more multi-directional. Today, the manager is not only the only person. The players, sometimes the players have their own physio, their own diet. So on them, so they have their own social networks. So the influences on the players are multi-directional. We were the products of a period where the manager was the main influence on the football player.
But I actually think it's more than that as well, Arsene. Actually, you know, upbringings are quite similar with discussions around football. I mean, obviously one in Scotland and one in France, but upbringings are quite similar. The playing journey, starting off your managerial career and working your way up the ladder. There are a lot, and then actually how you both work in, because you are about creating a culture and creating an environment.
We felt that responsibility because that's. I always feel that before you build a team, you build a club, and the club is built on identity and values, what you stand up for, what you don't tolerate, and so we have been brought up like that, and it's still the case today. But I just think the manager today, the modern manager, has to deal with more influences. You know, if you something a bit more, maybe one directional.
When the pizza hit his head, after which was thrown by Cesc Fabregas, did you see that or did you not see that?
I was a specialist at not seeing things.
Yes, you were. Yes.
I didn't see it. I knew. I've been told who did it. Unfortunately, it landed on Alex, but it was a bit Man United's fault because they put the pizzas in our dressing room. So, but in hindsight, now today it's funny. I can understand completely that Ferguson was not happy, but I think after this distance, he laughed at it as well. But it was just to show how the fight was big in the corridors, at the time. Today, you don't get away with that anymore.
No, you don't.
No chance today. You finish in jail now.
Yes, yeah. And it would have been filmed on social media, and it would have been everywhere. The dressing room after that was the end of the 49-match unbeaten run. So, at the end of a 49-match unbeaten run, we'll come to the start of it in a minute, but at the end of it, what do you say in the dressing room after that? Because that had a massive effect, that defeat, didn't it? That end of the run, you think, had a big effect on the...
It was a huge effect, because suddenly you're down on earth again, and we're up at the top of the Everest, and you say to the players, now let's get up again. I tell you, come on, leave us a little bit alone now. And it took us time to recover. And I think we won the first game again at QPR 1-0, and we didn't deserve to win it because it took us 4 or 5 games to recover from it.
Do you find it odd that a team that have gone 49 matches?
I found it very odd. But it's strange because when you are hit like that, suddenly the connections go, the fluency of the game goes, and everything becomes difficult.
Do you and your staff in that moment, as you're searching and struggling for the next few games, are you and your staff searching, trying to find what's going on?
Yes, of course. You try always, because in football you cannot lose 3 games on the trot when you're the big club, or you're not surviving. So you have to very quickly. We didn't lose the 5 games, but we did some draws, and we had to, of course, to deal with all the unrest created by the incidents as well, and so it was a big turmoil inside the club, and it took us time to recover.
Go back to the start of the Invincibles and the start of the run, and you told the players they could go unbeaten for the season. But you'd done that the previous season as well. So why did you repeat it? What was the thinking there?
Because I personally thought to do the immaculate season, I have done a good job, and the players as well. And as long as you don't do that, somebody else could do better. So I wanted to say, I've done 1 year in my life, I've done the job. There's no room to do better. And I wanted as well I think as a group of people, you need always a long-term target and a short-term target. And the long-term target was that's to give them appetite to develop. You need sometimes a target that is higher than the players would put it, And they told me we didn't win because you told us we want to. In 2003, they told me, I said, why did we not win? Your target was too high, it's too much pressure. And stupidly, I said, I think you can do it. And so sometimes it shows that don't be scared to be ambitious. Sometimes it takes time. You put the seeds in some way in the brain, and it takes time to get out. And so overall, it allowed us as well, when we won the championship, to give me another motivation to the group. Don't lose again now. You can become immortal now.
Because there were 4 games left.
And we nearly lost each of them, but we just managed, because we had that desire to survive, but didn't lose.
But when they came to you, and the previous season, I said, "Well, we lost because you put too much pressure on us." How much time do you then think about actually repeating it? Because there's every chance they could say
straight away. I said
straight away.
Straight away. Told them, okay. I think it's Martin Keown who told me it was too much pressure to.
That doesn't surprise me. Without any worry whatsoever for you, without any worry.
Yes. Sometimes in our job, it's important to be stubborn. I know that when you're too stubborn, you can be stupid. But as well, you have to be demanding and insistent on many things in the job.
What made that Invincibles team so great for you?
First of all, what makes every team great, first of all, is good players in every single position. Players who had a special charisma. When they came in the morning, you could see these guys refused to be average. They carried something that was special, and good understanding they had with each other. But I would say above all, great quality.
When you're recruiting, how do you recruit charisma? Because you've recruited some amazing. You have recruited some amazing players in your time, not just at Arsenal. Go back to George Weah when you were at Monaco. So how do you, as the manager, delve into the personality of a player? Because that comes through as being crucial through all your great teams.
I always look at some special quality. I think one quality that is, you make your life with a dominant quality. None of us has everything, but we need one quality that is dominant, and we need to be good at anything else.
Okay.
Not special, but one. If you can hang your hat on something, and after you look at the intelligence and the motivation of a guy, and then you observe the way he plays football, because the game is the best revelation of the character of a person, because you have no social coverage anymore. In the game, you become who you really are. And by observing well the players, what he does when his partners lose the ball, for example, I'll give you an example. How much belief he has in what he does, how convinced he is, how much he wants it. So all these kind of things you can observe in the game, and you know a lot about his character.
So you would, in the main, judge a player's character by what you'd see him do on the football field, rather than necessarily talking to a previous manager or academy coach or whatever it may be.
In our job, it's difficult to get the truth.
Right.
Because sometimes people say it's good because they want you to fail, or they say it's good because they want to sell the player. So don't rely too much on that. You have to be a bit suspicious on the advice you get. Make your mind up. uncertainty and the uncertainty of the discipline. And basically, what is really our job is every Friday we produce jobless people, and on Monday we employ them again. And say, my friend, now I employ you again. Show me the week, but on Friday you can do the job.
And does that eye to spot the player and the characteristics of the player on the field? That same eye, because you also have a through during your career.
Yes, because the positional play has to be suited to your psychological profile and to your physiological profile. You know, that means if you have no stamina, it's difficult to present. If you're very explosive and have average stamina, you can play centre back or centre forward. You know, but if you on the flanks today, you need a 400-meter run, a guy who can run with high intensity and can repeat. So it has to be adjusted to his physiological profile and as well to his psychological profile. It can make careers. I think, for example, I believe that 90% of the players, their career depends on where they go and when. 10% can go anywhere.
Yeah, being at the right place at the right time with the right manager.
Yes.
Is there one player that you have managed that you think, thank goodness I got to manage him?
90% of them. You know, I was always happy to manage the players. It is not necessarily linked with the talent. What you want is you are not responsible for the talent you have. You are responsible for what you make of it. And I have as much respect as a guy who had an average talent, but took the maximum out of it than a guy who was super talented, because super talent where does it come from? It comes from your childhood or from birth, from genetical accidents.
If you met you as a child sitting in that bistro with all the dreams of watching an FA Cup final on the television and so on and so forth, what would you say? What would you say to that child knowing the life that was ahead of him?
I would ask him, what do you want to do in life? And so he would have told me, I want to be a farmer.
Is that what you wanted?
I couldn't imagine to spend my life in the game. You know, football was not a serious job. Football was something that you enjoyed on Saturday. Its job is to work hard physically and go in the field. So I was happy there.
The final quote, because I could talk to you for another 2 hours, but we have to go. The final quote, which I've taken from your book, is when you meet God. I mean, I don't want to enter on a down, but you say, when I meet God, and he'll ask me what meaning I gave my life, I'll say, I tried to win matches. And you worry that he'll reply, that's all.
It's that all, yes. And I will say, basically, look, it is not as easy as it looks from up here. And down there, it was quite important.
It's been an absolute joy talking to you. I'd love to shake your hand, but we can't at these times. But thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. And thank you for watching. Have a good and safe weekend.